Now hold up a minute. Before you start laughing, before you jump down in the comment section and you start telling me, Coop, this should be the top 5 most unrealistic hires instead of realistic hires. Let me refresh your memory. Back in November, I uploaded a similar video. It was top 5 realistic athletic director hires for the Miami Hurricanes. And so many people just straight dogged me in the comment section on that video. They told me no way that I was giving Miami fans unrealistic expectations. Well, let's go ahead and play that clip from back in November, and let's just recap who was number 2 on that list. And coming in hot at that number 2 spot is current AD at Clemson, Dan Radakovich. Now, the only reason I showed that is so I could say this. Almost anyone is on the table when it comes to this defensive coordinator position. It's been proven time and time again that money and location talks. So you can choose to say never about any of these guys if you want to, but that's a word that's been removed out of my everyday vocabulary. And with that being said, let's do this. Actually, before we do this, $20K in 2022. Be part of this movement and become eligible for cash prizes once we hit this goal. 20,000 subs in 2022 on this channel. I know we can do it. And the way that you can help is simply by hitting the subscribe button. And if you've already done so, tell your friend, tell your baby mama, tell your cat, your pet hamster, whoever, and have them hit the subscribe button as well. Let's do it. So top 5 realistic defensive coordinator hires for the Miami Hurricanes. Let's dive into this and keep it short, sweet, and to the point. Kicking off my list at number 5 is current or possibly former Dolphins defensive coordinator Josh Boyer. Now, I say former because, well, just look at the Dolphins right now. It's an absolute mess from top to bottom. And keep in mind that this guy is the most unlikely on this list. That's the reason why he's at number 5 in a top 5 list. Now, why would Boyer even consider stepping down from the NFL to come coach at the college level for the Miami Hurricanes? Well, this goes back to what I was previously just talking about. Look at the Dolphins organization as a whole. It's an absolute mess. Dare I say, a disaster. Boyer played wide receiver and DB in college, and he's primarily bounced around as a position coach before he landed the DC position with the Dolphins back in 2020. Now, I need to let you guys know that the Dolphins have made it very clear that they would like to retain their current defensive staff when the new head coach is hired in. But that doesn't mean that that's what's actually going to happen. It also doesn't even mean that Boyer wants to stay. He previously spent a lot of time with the Patriots, and now after being a part of all this mess with the Dolphins, maybe he wants out of the NFL. If you really think about it, the guy wouldn't have to move, or if he did, it wouldn't be very far, and he also gets to maintain his position as a defensive coordinator. But also keep in mind, as I said, that this is probably very unlikely, but I wanted to throw his name on the list. Next up on the list at number 4 is actually another guy that's currently on the Miami Dolphins staff, and this one is a little bit more likely. Current linebackers coach Anthony Campanile. Again, guys, my point is that the Dolphins are a mess right now, and you can't blame anybody on that staff for wanting to leave. Campanile played safety and linebacker at Rutgers from 2004 to 2009, and guess who just so happened to be an assistant at Rutgers during that time? You guessed it, Mario Cristobal. Maybe there's not a connection there, but there's also the possibility that there is a little something there. Campanile has spent most of his coaching career at the college level before making the jump to the NFL in 2020. The Miami Hurricanes DC position would be a promotion, a pay raise, and a job that's already close to home. The big question mark here for me would be if Mario Cristobal is actually willing to take a chance on a guy who's not been a full-blown DC since way back in 2009. So my prediction here would be probably not, but that's also why he's number 4 on this list. Now, coming in hot at number 3 on this list is a guy that needs no introduction. This is a name that pops up on the list every time Miami has an opening, and that's Charlie Strong. He's technically still the assistant head coach and inside linebackers coach for the Jaguars, but we all know that they're about to bring in a new head coach, and when you bring in a new head coach, well, we all know how this works.
You're fired!
Many believe that he could possibly be looked at as Urban Meyer's replacement at the head coach position, but it looks like that the Jags are taking a different direction. So with that being said, we all know the extensive amount of experience that Charlie Strong brings to the table. There's also no denying his South Florida connections. His job security is most likely pretty low right now, and I do believe that there have been times in the past that Miami has gauged interest with Charlie Strong for multiple different positions at the university, and I'm guessing that there was probably some mutual interest there. Maybe everything just didn't quite work out. So, maybe this is an opportunity for Strong to come back to the college level because, well, I mean, I'm sure the Jaguars have left a bad taste in his mouth. Next up at number 2 on the list is current assistant head coach and D-line coach Clint Hurt. Now, this is a guy who has Miami ties, which I know for a lot of you is a big plus. He was actually a graduate assistant from 2003 to 2004, and then he actually later coached the Canes D-line from 2006 to 2009, and I had to actually go back and double check this because I had forgotten all about that. He enjoys a very aggressive defense, and that would be the perfect fit at Miami right now with what we're trying to do. Pete Carroll speaks very highly of Hurt, and this would be an upgraded position, a pay raise, and an opportunity to come back to Miami. However, there's a huge issue here. Clint Hurt has no experience as a full-blown defensive coordinator. And yes, I'm going to be straight up, that does worry me. I'm typically at this point where we're at with Miami, I really just want people who bring a lot of experience to the table for whatever position they're being hired in. I've been burned so many times as a Miami Hurricanes fan with us bringing in guys who are learning on the job, and this is kind of a stepping stone for them, and I'm just kind of tired of that. So this guy really isn't necessarily on my radar. However, I do think there is a big reason why we have him at number 2 on this list, because I do believe that there is some interest there from both parties. And now it's time, Canes fans, for the number 1 most realistic defensive coordinator hire for the Miami Hurricanes, and it is none other than Doug Belk. Now, I realize that we've all seen this name thrown around all over social media, various different forums and news reporting sites, but it's for good reason. Belk is currently the associate head coach, safeties coach, and DC over at Houston. He actually spent some time as a graduate assistant over at Alabama with another assistant who just so happened to be Mario Cristobal. To me, Doug Belk just makes a lot of sense here. I mean, he gets the opportunity to work with an old friend. He most likely is going to get a pay raise. It is going to be a pay raise coming from Houston to Miami. And he would have much greater opportunities for his future at Miami versus Houston. This guy had Houston's defense last year ranked 19th in points allowed per game, 12th in tackles for loss, and 6th in sacks. The bottom line is Doug Belk brings experience to the table, and he has a past working relationship with Mario Cristobal. It's someone that I feel like you're not necessarily taking a chance on, right? And I think that that's part of what's taking so long with this hire for Mario Cristobal is he wants to bring in someone who has a lot of experience, but it's difficult a lot of times to poach someone, right, from another school. If they're, if they have a lot of experience, we're looking for someone who's successful, and if they're doing their thing, they might be scared to take the chance. And then, there was also the fact that we're potentially looking at guys who are maybe, head coaches at a lower level, and we're trying to get them to accept a lesser position. like a coordinator, except at the Power 5 level. So it shows me that Mario Cristobal really probably wants a guy with some serious experience. So I think that Doug Belk really makes the most sense here. But I also want to make it known, okay? Let's go ahead. I should have put a disclaimer at the beginning, but we're putting it here at the end. So sit tight for just a second. There is also the possibility, and this is very, very possible, that the defensive coordinator hire is none of the guys on my top 5 list. It's also very possible that it's a name that no one else has talked about. I'm talking no social media posts, no sports reporting sites, just completely out of left field. Nobody saw this coming. And that's because Mario Cristobal is doing a great job at keeping everything in-house, and that's kind of just the way that he works, just kind of silently. And I understand that Canes fans are getting a little restless, a little rowdy, with the signing day coming up. Shamar Stewart possibly, we kind of talked about him making a statement, not knowing who the DC is going to be at Miami. But I feel like that we are much further along with this than what fans are led to believe. And that's okay. If the way Mario wants to do it is he keeps everything in-house, then do your thing. But I do feel like this will be somewhat of a splash hire for the defensive coordinator, because I just feel like Mario doesn't want to take a chance on a guy who has no defensive coordinator experience. And again, this is just top 5 realistic hires, guys that I think really stand a high chance of getting interviewed or have been interviewed and could possibly be hired. However, there is a very, very high chance that it's someone that none of us have talked about. What I would like to see from you guys is what you think about this top 5 list. Am I absolutely crazy for putting these guys in my top 5? Would you maybe shift the order around, or would you possibly add someone else to the list? And then I also would like to see maybe who your dream hire is. Who would be the biggest splash hire? Who makes the most sense to you? And also, in case you're wondering, I did post a video discussing potential offensive coordinator hires. Now, this was not a top 3 or a top 5. This was actually discussing guys that could potentially be up for the OC position that are currently coaching NFL teams. And that's not an official prediction by me. It was just a really cool topic to discuss. So if you want to check that out, it will pop up here towards the end of the video on your screen. You can check it out there. There were some very interesting names that we threw out. But otherwise, just make sure you leave some type of comment on this video. There's most likely some sort of announcement coming at the end of this week or very early next week. And we'll see what happens. Remember though, guys, we're all one big happy college football family. But at the end of the day, I gotta say, it's always better when you get to rep the U. Coach Coop, peace out.